Hello and welcome to Express News. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. In the next half an hour, we'll get you all the latest updates. Let's start with our top story. The recovery rate reached 77.09%, while the case fatality rate has further dropped to 1.75%. 68,584 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 29,70,492. India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a success. The number of active COVID-19 cases in India stands at 8,15,538, which is 21.16% of the total case reported so far. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has said that high levels of testing sustained over a period of time in widespread areas enable to diagnose cases early and facilitate seamless isolation and hospitalization. This eventually leads to low mortality rate. India has witnessed an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 testing. The samples tested in a single day have crossed the 11 lakh mark. Over 11,70,000 tests are done in the last 24 hours. The total number of tests conducted stands at 4,55,09,380. According to Union Health Ministry, there has been 13.7% weekly decrease in the number of active cases in Andhra Pradesh, 16.1% decrease in Karnataka, 6.8% decrease in Maharashtra. 5 states, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra account for 62% of total active cases in the country. According to Union Health Ministry, the number of recovered cases is now more than 29.70 lakh, which is 3.5 times more than active cases. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver the special keynote address at the USISPF 3rd Annual Leadership Summit at 9 p.m. via video conference. The theme of the 5-day summit that began on 31st of August is US-India navigating new challenges. Chief Election Commissioner Sunil Arora today met the Election Commissioners Sushil Chandra and Rajiv Kumar at the Election Commission in New Delhi. This was the first meeting of the full Election Commission after Rajiv Kumar assumed charge as Election Commissioner. Minister for Tribal Affairs Arjun Munda inaugurated 2-day National Tribal Research Conclave. The conclave will be held virtually on 3rd and 4th September. The conclave has been jointly organized by Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Indian Institute of Public Administration. Tribal Affairs Minister said that research project will enable development in different sectors for tribal areas. Karnataka State Natural Disaster Monitoring Centre has predicted light to moderate rain in south and north interior Karnataka. Bengaluru witnessed heavy rains last night. Bangalore City Corporation has sounded alert and control rooms are activated. In Madhya Pradesh, a sigh of relief was witnessed as the state did not witness heavy rains in last 3 days. Relief efforts have picked up momentum in various parts of the state. MP Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan visited the flood-affected areas of Shahganj in Sehor district. Chief Minister also reached the rescue centre and 3 relief camps set up in Shahganj and distributed food items there. A central team visited Muzaffarpur and Darbhanga today to assess the damage caused by floods in Bihar. The 6-member team is headed by Piyush Goyal, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Home Affairs. The team will also visit Darbhanga and Gopalganj districts. The team will submit the report of the loss due to the disaster to the central government, after which the central government will determine the financial assistance to be given to the state. Flood situation in Bihar has improved further. Relief and rescue operations are on in the flood-affected districts. 21 teams of NDRF and SDRF are still engaged in relief work. In view of the improvement in floods, the number of community kitchens has also been reduced. Now 22 community kitchens are running in only 3 districts, Darbhanga, Samastipur and Saran, from where cooked food is being provided to more than 30,000 people. According to the state government, more than 14.5 lakh families have been given an amount of Rs 6,000 per family as relief through DBT. Medical camps have been opened in flood-affected areas. The river Ganga is still flowing above the danger mark in Patna, but officials say that there is no threat to the city. Domestic equity benchmark Sensex ended 95 points lower on Thursday as losses mainly in baking counters offset gains in shares of IT and consumer durables. Despite opening on a positive note, the BSE Sensex ended 95.09 points or 0.24% lower at 38,990.94. NSE Nifty closed 7.55 points or 0.07% down at 11,527.45. Gold futures on Thursday fell by 0.08% to rupees 50,781 per 10 gram as participants offloaded their holdings on low spot demand. Silver futures on Thursday dropped by rupees 254 to rupees 68,000 per kg as participants reduced their bets on low demand. Crude oil futures on Thursday fell by 0.98% to rupees 3,029 per barrel as participants trimmed their positions on low demand and weak global cues. Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman held a review meeting with the heads of scheduled commercial banks and NBFCs through video conferencing today to review their state of preparedness for implementation of the loans resolution framework for COVID-19 related stress. During the meeting, Sitharaman impressed upon the lenders that as and when moratorium on loans repayments is lifted, borrowers must be given support and COVID-19 related distress must not impact the lender's assessment of their credit worthiness. The Railways has issued a single All India contact helpline number Rail Madad 139 with option 6 for freight and parcel queries in view of the ongoing thrust on promoting freight and parcel traffic. Railway carrying out a detailed study on the nearly 4,000-kilometre long new dedicated freight corridors connecting industrial areas in the eastern and western parts of the country to major ports in Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. The government has permitted Indian Airlines to increase the number of domestic passenger flights to 60% of the pre-COVID services in an official order. On June 26, the Ministry of Civil Aviation had allowed the airlines to operate a maximum of 45% of the pre-COVID domestic flights. Union Minister of Commerce and Industry and Railways Piyush Goyal has said that new Asia ideas will help us to prepare India to contribute in a much bigger way to global supply chains. United Nations Security Council has rejected Islamabad's application for listing of 2 Indian individuals as international terrorists under UNSC's Resolution 1267. The move was blocked by 5 members of the UNSC Council, USA, UK, France, Germany and Belgium. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh is in Moscow on a 3-day visit. He was received by Major General Bukhti Yuri Nikolaevich at the airport. He will attend the combined meeting of defense ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Collective Security Treaty Organization and Commonwealth of Independent States member states. In a landmark judgment, the High Court of Bangladesh has ordered that Hindu widows are entitled to share in all properties of their deceased husband. Earlier, the law entitled the Hindu widows only to the homestead property of their husband. Heavy winds and rain lashed much of the Korean peninsula after a powerful typhoon Mesak made landfall. At least 1 person killed and more than 2,000 people evacuated in South Korea. Typhoon Mesak brought widespread destruction in southern and western coast due to strong winds and heavy rains. In Ireland's Clifden, severe rainfall and flooding caused destruction following torrential rain. Several localities were evacuated while roads and bridges resumed operations after drop in water levels. All routes were open around the town. Emergency services monitored the situation on roads in and around Clifden. Schools in the area closed early for students to return home safely. The United States has imposed sanctions on senior officials in the International Criminal Court, including Chief Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accused the court of illegitimate attempts to subject Americans to its jurisdiction. The Hague-based ICC is currently investigating whether U.S. forces committed war crimes in Afghanistan. The novel coronavirus has claimed the lives of over 8.68 lakh people worldwide, while more than 2.62 crore have contracted the infection so far. As many as 1.84 crore people have recovered worldwide. The US and Brazil remain worst affected in terms of both COVID-19 infections and fatalities. The US has so far recorded over 62.91 lakh cases with over 1.89 lakh deaths. Brazil has crossed the 40 lakh mark in terms of infections, with the death toll surging past 1.23 lakh. COVID-19 infections in Europe are back to levels seen in March when the outbreak began its peak phase there. Hospitalizations are growing again, signaling spikes in cases also among the elderly. Europe has so far more than 36,46,390 cases of COVID-19 with death toll of over 2,08,506 for COVID-19 because of his recent stay in Sardinia. Cuba has imposed curfew in Havana in a bid to combat the spread of coronavirus. A ban on travel between provinces as well as limitations on the movement of people and vehicles have also been imposed. The curfew and the rest of the measures will last for 2 weeks. Cuba had largely contained the virus outbreak in late June, but in recent weeks the source of infection for many patients could not be identified. The country has more than 4,125 cases of infection while the death toll is nearing 100. Two-time presidential candidate Henry Capriles said that Venezuela's opposition must stop playing at government and start focusing on elections in a rare public swipe at Congress chief Juan Guaido's parallel presidency. Capriles have been in talks with the government over possible participation in the upcoming congressional election. A particular kind of New Yorker showed up at Chelsea Piers Fitness, where gyms have been allowed to open for the first time since the coronavirus pandemic. Gyms are allowed to open at 33% capacity and rearrangement of floors to maintain 6 feet distance. At least 8 people killed and over a dozen others injured in the Mexican city of Cuernavaca after gunmen reportedly stormed a funeral service and opened fire. Authorities have not yet reported on the arrest of the gunmen, but investigations are ongoing. The Mexican Navy released a dramatic video of a dramatic high-speed drug bust out at sea. The footage was released by Mexico's Navy, showing a helicopter intercepting a speedboat in the Mexican Caribbean that was allegedly loaded with 2.9 tons of cocaine. 3 people were detained in the operation. Belarusians marched, sang and danced in Minsk city center as they continue to protest against Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko. Rallies against Lukashenko have persisted for weeks. Since he claimed victory in the presidential election. A Hong Kong court has said that media tycoon pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai was not guilty of criminal intimidation, ending one of several cases against him. The verdict was for a case that dates back to 2017. France plans to spend 100 billion euros to pull its economy out of a deep coronavirus-induced slump, signaling renewed efforts by President Emmanuel Macron. He mentioned that the government aimed to create at least 160,000 jobs next year with this plan. A fire that broke out on a fully loaded supertanker off the east coast of Sri Lanka has been brought under control. A Sri Lanka Navy official said that there is no damage to the cargo area. The Japanese government is considering further assistance to help Mauritius deal with an oil spill after a Japanese-owned boat struck a coral reef. The shipping company will continue planning with local authorities and specialists on the removal of the remaining part of the carrier from the reef. Men's singles tennis will face world number 3 Dominic Thiem in second round of US Open. Nagel created history as he became the player to win a Grand Slam singles match in 7 years. India's David Sharan and his Serbian partner Nikola Kacic fought hard before going down in 3 sets to 8th seed Nikola Mektic and Wesley Koolhof in the first round of the US Open men's doubles event. Top seed Novak Djokovic recovered after losing first set against Britain's Kyle Edmund. Novak entered the third round with a 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-2 win. Denis Shapovalov defeated South Korean Kwon Soon Woo and secured a place in the third round of the US Open for a 4th straight year. He will next face American Taylor Fritz. Stefanos Tsitsipas advanced to round 3 with a straight sets win over Maxim Cressy. Tsitsipas will next play Croatia's Borna Coric. Cameron Norrie advanced to the third round of a Grand Slam for the first time. The 25-year-old beat Argentine Federico Coria by 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. 5th seed Alexander Zverev had to fight hard to win over American teenager Brandon Nakashima 7-5, 6-7, 6-3, 6-1. David Goffin shook off Lloyd Harris to book a place in the US Open third round in a match that featured 10 breaks of serve. The 7th seed Goffin battled Harris and humid conditions in over 2 hours and 53 minutes. In women's singles, top seed Karolina Pliskova got knocked out in a huge upset. Pliskova lost against world number 50 Caroline Garcia 1-6, 6-7. Naomi Osaka, who was forced to withdraw from Cincinnati Open final last week with a hamstring injury, made quick work of her second-round opponent Camilla. Australia's summer of tennis suffered a setback with the Kooyong Classic exhibition called off due to coronavirus. Organisers said safety was their main consideration in cancelling the Melbourne event. The inaugural edition of the Sri Lanka Premier League T20 tournament will be held from November 14th to December 6th this year. The SLPL was initially scheduled to take place between August 28 to September 20th but had to be postponed due to COVID-19. Australia are all set to lock horns in a limited over series consisting of 3 T20Is and as many ODIs against England starting September 4th. Ahead of the much-awaited T20I series, Australian coach Justin Langer said that the visitors are ready to take on in-form England outfit. Australia will take to field after breaks of almost 6 months, while England have already played both red ball and white ball series. Australia have already played 2 intra-squad warm-up matches in Southampton. Australian pacer Kane Richardson said that pulling out of the upcoming Indian Premier League was difficult but definitely a right decision. He said he didn't want to miss the birth of his first child in the wake of travel restrictions. Lionel Messi's Barcelona future looks difficult according to the footballer's father. The 33-year-old Argentine handed in a transfer request last week and has been linked with a move to Premier League side Manchester City. Manchester United have signed Netherlands midfielder Donny van de Beek from Ajax Amsterdam on a 5-year contract. Media reports say that United paid an initial fee of £35 million for the 23-year-old. 3 Paris Saint-Germain players have tested positive for COVID-19. The club has not revealed the identity of the players yet, but French media has reported that Neymar, Di Maria and Leonardo Paredes have tested positive after returning from Ibiza. Real Madrid and Everton are closing in on an agreement for Colombian playmaker James Rodriguez, who would join the Premier League and reunite with Italian coach Carlo Ancelotti for the 3rd time in his career. Brazil's football governing body has announced that it is adopting an equal pay policy for both women's and men's football, becoming one of the first countries in the world to do so. Frenchman Julien Alaphilippe lost the overall lead in the Tour de France to Britain Adam Yates after being handed a 20-second penalty for illegal feeding at the end of stage 5. Fifth stage was won by Belgian Wout van Aert. The 77th Venice Film Festival opens with strict safety measures despite fewer Hollywood attendees and no fans at the event. The film festival got underway with an exciting lineup of stars. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan have signed a multi-year deal to produce nature series, documentaries and children's programming for their streaming service. The couple plan to focus on stories and issues that elevate diverse voices. Actor Dwayne Johnson, better known as The Rock, posted a video message on Instagram that he and his family have recovered from COVID-19. He urged people to wear face masks to limit the spread of coronavirus. Thousands of people are reporting ongoing symptoms many months after being diagnosed with COVID-19 and describe their condition as long haulers. Breathlessness, memory loss and brain fog are some multiple recurring symptoms among them. American endurance artist David Blaine performed his latest stunt, ascending 25,000 feet above into the Arizona sky. Blaine fell free for 30 seconds before deploying a parachute. Actor Anupam Kher and filmmakers Vivek Agnihotri, Satish Kaushik and Rumi Jaffrey are joining hands for producing their upcoming project, The Last Show. The film will revolve around friendship, love, laughters and tears. After becoming the first Korean pop band to have a #1 debut with their first English track, Dynamite BTS said that they are now aiming at the Grammys. In the latest episode of her podcast, the former First Lady of America, Michelle Obama, reflected on marriages and how she has taken it well with her husband. Michelle's first guest ever was Barack Obama. After the massive success of Vidya Jamwal's action thriller Khuda Hafiz, makers have confirmed the sequel to the film Khuda Hafiz Chapter 2. Its lead characters Vidya Jamwal and Shivalika Oberoi will be seen taking forward their love story. The makers of Prabhas starrer Adipurush released a new poster of the film introducing Saif Ali Khan as the villain. The film will take us back 7,000 years in time to reveal the world's most intelligent demon. Well, that's all we have in Express News. Stay tuned for more news and updates. Namaskar.